A Heatwave rolled through Toronto and it did not disappoint. We've got a new champion, incredible matches, and an NXT favorite is left with an uncertain future. We're talking about NXT Heatwave on this episode of About Last Night. Let's dive right in. Well, hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Rumble Rewind today. My name is Brandon. We are talking about all things NXT Heatwave. It was an incredible show that did not disappoint. Before we dive into the results and how I did with my predictions, do me a quick favor, scroll down below this video and hit that like button for me. While you're down there, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications. I know you're gonna love this content, and every like, every subscribe means so much to us. We're so grateful for every one of them, and it really helps this channel to grow. Speaking of growing, once we make it to our first goal of 200 subscribers, we're doing the best giveaway in the world, where we give away some CM Punk gear, and we want you to be eligible for that, and the only way to be eligible is to hit that subscribe button. So help us get there, maybe win yourself some sweet CM Punk gear in the process. All right, let's dive right into this show with the first match of the night. It actually took place on the pre-show, and it was the team of Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace taking on Jacy Jayne and Jasmine Nyx. Now, I did make a prediction about this one. Let's check it out. Ultimately, I think that Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace are going to get the win here. Even booking is a thing, and Jasmine just got that win over Carmen on Tuesday night. And it is the pre-show. It's the Canadian superstars taking on the non-Canadian superstars. It is the faces taking on the heels, and I think that they'll want to start this thing with the feel-good moment for the Canadian crowd to kind of get them hyped up. So at the end of the day, I do think that it's going to be Carmen Petrovic and Ariana Grace over Jasmine Nyx and Jacy Jayne on the pre-show. All right, of all the matches on the card, honestly, I was really confident about this one. It did end when Jasmine Nyx attempted a roll-up on Carmen Petrovic, but Ariana Grace reached in from ringside, pulling the hair of Jasmine Nyx, allowing Petrovic to roll through and pick up the win. Now, as much as I wanted the heel team to win, I kind of knew that this would most likely go to the face team, to Grace and Petrovic, the two Canadians who were wrestling in front of their hometown crowd. Again, they're both from there, and this was a good way to warm up the crowd and start off with a feel-good moment, allowing the hometown heroes to pick up a victory. I am curious to see where this goes, specifically for Petrovic and Grace going forward. At the end of the day, Grace cheated to win. Carmen Petrovic is a keep your nose clean kind of babyface right now, and I'm curious as to see if this will lead to some friction or some tension between the two of them, and maybe some kind of story, maybe some sort of feud. We would get the answer to that question later in the night, as the two would be seen in a backstage segment talking to Ava and arguing over who made a bigger impact in the match. Ava would book a match between the two of them for this Tuesday on NXT, and Grace would respond by saying Ava forcing two tag team competitors to go one-on-one with each other was disgusting. So it was really funny how that all played out. Now, I did enjoy this match. All four women looked great in the ring. Obviously, Jacy Jayne is the veteran presence, followed closely by Ariana Grace, but all four of them did great. No one really looked out of place in the match, and it was a great start to the night. Honestly, it could have been part of the main card if they wanted it to, but again, putting it on the pre-show, allowing it to be sort of a moment to warm up the crowd to get them ready for the main show makes a lot of sense. But what were your thoughts on this match? Let me know in the comments below. All right, let's move on to the next match of the night. We would see Obafemi taking on Wesley for the NXT North American Championship. And if Wesley is unsuccessful in his challenge to get this title, he is not allowed to challenge Obafemi for the North American Championship again. Let's take a look at my pick. So I would love to see Wes move on and develop into a character who has more depth to him than just being obsessed with the North American Championship. Right now, his whole character is underdog who has to have the North American Championship to feel complete, and I need to see more from Wes. So again, I want to see Obafemi win this championship or keep this championship and Wes move on. And at the end of the day, that is my pick that I think is actually going to happen. I do think that Obafemi retains here. I do think that they're trying to make Obafemi into what is the greatest North American champion of all time, and then they will move him into the NXT title hunt. Or they might just move him straight to the main roster. All right, coming into this PLE, I was 50-50 on the outcome of this one, but ultimately I did decide to go with Obafemi to retain. I think it makes the most sense to continue to build Oba and to have Wes move on from the North American Championship. Ultimately, that's what we got. Obafemi retains the North American Championship, and Wes Lee cannot challenge Obafemi for that title again. Now, this match was kind of insane, and honestly, it was really, really good. We would see a fast-paced leverage offense from Wes and then a power move from Obafemi to shut it down and make him look more and more dominant, more and more monstrous. Now, this pattern would continue until a series in which Obafemi was able to avoid several cardiac kick attempts and finally caught Wes with a pop-up powerbomb to get the win. The final few minutes of this match were honestly a little bit clunky, but it was such a fast-paced match that lasted for quite a while. I do think that by the end of it, both men were just completely exhausted, but it was still such a great match. While it wasn't exactly on par with Obafemi's triple threat at Stand and Deliver, it was definitely worth watching. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I would recommend going back and taking a look at that one. So the real question here, though, is what is next for Wes Lee? There are a couple of options, the most obvious of which is that Wes will move on from the North American Championship picture and move into the NXT title hunt. This makes sense to me for Wes Lee. I think there's room at the top of the card for a solid face competitor. I think there's room for him and his style of offense in that conversation and in that picture, but we'll have to see where it goes. There are a few other options that I could see playing out, one of which would be a move to the main roster. I do believe that he could add to and contribute to the mid-card divisions on Raw or SmackDown. Both of those divisions are a little bit crowded at the moment, but I think that Wes Lee is unique enough in his style and his offense to at least add some depth and add some excitement to those mid-card divisions. Probably makes more sense on Raw since Carmella Hayes has a similar style over on SmackDown, but ultimately I could see that being an option for Wes. The other option is to put him back into sort of tag team competition. He was a tag team specialist coming into NXT. Don't get me wrong, he's done a great job becoming a singles competitor. He's a very compelling character. He's very good in the ring, but he could add a lot of depth to the tag team division anywhere on the roster, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. And on NXT, I could see him teaming up with someone like Javon Evans, Dante Chen, or Eddie Thorpe. Now, obviously, those last two make more sense as Javon is mixed up in the NXT title picture, but I do think any of those guys would make a great tag team partner for Wes. Tell me your thoughts, though, on the match, and tell me your thoughts on where Wes Lee goes from here. Let's move on to the next one. We would get Sol Ruca challenging Kalani Jordan for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Let's take a look at my pick. And both of these women, they've got it in the ring. They just need it on the mic. And so I'd love to see Sol get that opportunity. But again, I also see why Kalani would need to keep it. My preference, though, is Sol. But what I think is actually going to happen, I do think Kalani is going to retain. I think WWE 2K24 got this one right. I think she's going to retain. She's going to continue to move forward. I'm interested to see what they do with Sol after that. All right, just like the men's match, I wasn't super confident in this pick. I did want Sol to get the win. I wanted her to get a run with the NXT North American Championship, but I was doubtful that Kalani would lose it so quickly with it being such a new title and her being so fresh in her reign. Now, she did have one successful defense coming into this, but still, it's really early in the reign and in the history of this championship. So as it turns out, I was right again, and Kalani retains. If you're keeping score at home, 3 for 3, killing it. This is awesome. The match itself, though, was as expected, which what I expected was a straight up banger. Both of these women did a great job. There were a lot of great spots, including Sol Ruca, who did a springboard 450 clothesline that was absolutely incredible. Sol is so innovative in the ring, and her future is absolutely right. As the match came to a close, though, Kalani blocked a Soul Snatcher attempt and then followed up a few minutes later with an incredible top rope poison Rana. Eventually, she hit her split leg moonsault to get the win. Now, in the ring, both of these women are incredible, and if they can develop into interesting characters with compelling stories, they're going to be at the top of the WWE Women's Division very, very quickly. Now, as much as I wanted Sol to win, Kalani does make sense to retain as they work to establish this championship and the prestige associated with it. I'm not sure what's next for Sol, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a return match that goes the other way somewhere down the road. There was a brief moment at the end of the match where both women were celebrating together that I thought Sol might make a heel turn and attack Kalani. Ultimately, it didn't happen. but I think I saw what I saw. And so maybe they're sowing some seeds. Maybe we get a heel turn from Sol at some point. She turns on Kalani. That leads to the return match. And I could see Sol getting the win at that one. But tell me your thoughts on this match and your thoughts on the Women's North American Championships history so far. I do think that this championship is proof that we need more women's mid-card titles on Raw and SmackDown. At least one for the main roster, if not one for each brand. I could see a mid-card title like that really helping to elevate some of the stories that are happening on Raw and SmackDown of some of these women that have kind of been relegated to the background, and it really could help build up some future main event players. All right, let's move on to the next match of the night, and that was Chase Hughes, Andre Chase, and Duke Hudson taking on the team of Nathan Frazier and Axiom for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Let's take a look at my pick. My pick is Chase Hughes. I do believe that Chase Hughes is going to win. They are going to walk out as the tag team champions. Going to continue to sell the frustration story on both sides, as it is the best way for both of those stories to continue. My question is, what happens to Nathan Frazier and Axiom? Do they stay together and try to win the titles back, or do they break up? And then what happens with Chase Hughes? Does that cause people to leave Chase Hughes? Does that cause students to withdraw because they don't want to be associated with cheating scandals and things like that? I could see that happening. It really works well on a this college type of environment. And so I could see that happening. All right, to be honest with you, I was actually pretty confident that we were going to get new tag team champions tonight. And I was pretty confident that Ridge Holland was going to show up and be the reason that happened. There was a segment of the match where Frazier hit Axiom with multiple super kicks. And at that point, I thought for sure we were getting new champions. I thought there's no way around it. We were getting new champions. Frazier and Axiom were going to break up and have a feud. However, this was my first miss of the night. We got no Ridge, we got no serious breakdown from Frazier and Axiom, and we got no new tag team champion. So it was wrong. That one hurt a lot. That said, I'm okay with the outcome though. I didn't want Frazier and Axiom to break up, and while it's still a possibility that I think is going to happen down the road, it didn't happen tonight. I am curious where both stories go from here, as there's undoubtedly going to be tension within both teams. Axiom's going to continue to have questions about Frazier's focus and why he hit him with the super kicks in the match. And I could see Chase Hughes beginning to fracture again, as Thea and Ridge could play the what if game. What if Ridge had been there? What if they hadn't made him stay back? And they could blame Duke for getting him banned from the event. I am looking forward to follow up this week on NXT. But tell me your thoughts on the match overall in the comments, and tell me what you think is the future for both of these teams. Let's move on to the next match of the night, and it is Roxanne Perez defending her NXT Women's Championship against Lola Vice. Here's my pick. As far as Lola Vice, I love that she's getting this championship opportunity. I just don't think that she's ready. I think she needs some more time to develop, and that was made kind of obvious by her latest promo. I could see her getting into the NXT Women's North American Championship picture. That one right now is very face heavy as far as competitors go, and so to see her get mixed up in that would be good. Again, I'm excited that she's getting this opportunity to have a high profile match, but she's got some more work to do before she's ready to carry such a title. So what do I think is actually going to happen? I do think it's going to be Roxanne Perez. The prodigy continues her epic run with this NXT Women's Championship as she continues to carry the brand. Honestly, she's doing a great job. I think she's the right person to hold that belt for now, and I do see her coming out with it at the end of Heatwave. Like several of the other matches from tonight, you could see I was 50-50 on this one as well. Roxanne is still settling into her role as this sort of slippery, at the same time overconfident heel, and having the NXT Women's Championship is actually really helping her to do that. It's really helping to establish that character more and more. Now, often we see superstars and competitors that don't need championships in order to develop their story. However, at this point, having the NXT Championship is serving Roxanne well. For that reason, I ultimately went with Roxanne, and I got this one right as well. The match ended when Roxanne landed what I've decided should be called the Pop Rocks Trinity on Lola. This, of course, was after a Pop Rocks on the announce table didn't get the job done. Now, the match overall was amazing, and both of these women have extremely bright futures. Now, I know there is a lot of support for Lola, and many were disappointed that the title didn't switch hands and didn't go to her. But hear me when I say this, Lola's time will come. It will come. Lola is a future NXT Women's Champion and possibly a future WWE Women's or WWE Women's World Champion. It's just not quite time for her yet. She still has a little bit more work to do. She needs to develop a little bit more both in the ring and settle into her character a little better. I do think that, like I said, her time is coming. She is going to get there. It's just not quite yet. So I like the outcome here, and I'm looking forward to where both stories go from here. Tell me your thoughts on the match. Who did you want to see walk out with the Women's Championship? And the question was raised, who is Roxanne's next competitor? They even said who can possibly be on the level of Roxanne Perez. So tell me in the comments who you think the answer to that question is. There's many thoughts on this one. Speculations around Cora Jade, speculations around Julia, different thoughts on that level. Let me know yours. Would love to see where you think this story is going to go from here. Let's move on to our main event. This was a fatal four-way that would see Trick Williams taking on Ethan Page, Shawn Spears, and Javon Evans for his NXT championship. Take a look at my pick. I think Trick's done a great job. I think he's a great NXT champion. He is so over. He's a fan favorite. Everybody loves Trick. But I think everybody loves Trick more when he's chasing, when he's the underdog, when he's backed into a corner. And putting the title on Ethan Page is a great way to do that. You know, obviously he's going to want that championship back, and Ethan Page as a heel will be great at trying to dodge that, to try to duck him, to try to avoid putting the title on the line against Trick, creating all these hoops that he's got to jump through. And Trick's personality is the type of, yeah, okay, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it to get another shot. And so I would love to see that story play out, but the only way we get that is if somebody else wins the championship, especially if it's Ethan Page. All right, at the end of the day, my pick to win this match is going to be all ego Ethan Page. I do think he's going to pick it up. I think we're getting a new NXT champion here at Heatwave, and I'm actually looking forward to see how they develop this story. Let me just say it right from the start. This match was insane, and that's really all I can say about it. All four of these competitors showed that they could be NXT champions. As far as the actual in-ring work, Javon Evans truly stole the show. There are multiple spots that he did that were just honestly unbelievable. In one of these spots, he leapt out of the corner of the ring, hit Trick Williams with a suicide dive through the ringside barricade. I don't know how it's possible that an actual human man can jump that high and that far, but Javon Evans did it over and over and over again. This match is a must-see. You've got to go back and watch it if you didn't see it. I cannot do it justice just telling you about it. Again, Javon Evans stealing the show, really showing that he has what it takes to move to the next level as far as his in-ring work goes. Now, my pick here was in fact Ethan Page, and I was truly 50-50 between him winning and Trick retaining. The match being a fatal four-way is what tipped the scales, as I saw this match as a way to move the belt while protecting Trick. And this is exactly what happened here, as Trick hit both Javon and Ethan Page with the trick shot finisher, causing Page to land on top of Javon. At this point, Shawn Spears pulled Trick Williams out of the ring, allowing Ethan Page to get the win. And with that, Ethan Page is your new NXT champion. Welcome to the all-ego era. There were a lot of questions on X as to why Spears would do that, and from my perspective, it looked like Shawn was in a position where he couldn't see that Page was actually on top of Javon getting the pinfall. So he just didn't know that he was helping Page in the match. He sold this really well afterwards as he sat outside looking extremely frustrated, extremely confused, having lost that match in front of his hometown crowd. Honestly, I really like this outcome, and I really like the way that they did it. This is exactly why they brought in Ethan Page, and winning this title like this in this fashion is going to elevate his story really well. I can't wait to hear Ethan Page bragging about the win, bragging about this victory, when in actuality, he was basically unconscious while it happened. He had no idea he was winning the match. Now, I know that there's a lot of support for Javon Evans. A lot of people wanted to see him win, become the youngest NXT champion ever, and I get it, but honestly, he's just not quite ready yet. His ring work is really good, but his mic work still needs a lot of work. His promos are decent, but he cannot hang yet with somebody who has good mic skills like an Ethan Page. Even Shawn Spears kind of runs circles around him when it comes to his promos. And his biggest threat is still that he is bouncy. I love it. He is incredible, like I said, in the ring, but his mic work and his character needs to develop. Once he does that, he is going to be primed for the NXT Championship, and I could honestly see him taking it off of Ethan Page somewhere down the road. So my encouragement is this: let it cook, everybody. It's going to be good. That is what NXT has been doing. That is what they did with this PLE, and that is what they've continued to do week after week as we watch this show, is to cook. NXT has been really, really good lately, and if you're not watching, you should be. I gotta say, you should be. It's been very, very good every week. Now, as the show went off the air, we would see this. I'm not exactly sure what this means as far as timelines and storylines, but I believe we're going to be seeing Joe Hendry back in NXT really, really soon. All right, let's talk about overall. For me, overall, this PLE was top tier. It was top level. And I don't mean it was a top level NXT PLE. I mean it was a top level professional wrestling PLE. Every match was off the charts good. Every match was exciting to watch. Every match was engaging. I went 5 out of 6 with my picks on this one, and even still thoroughly enjoyed it. Even though I felt like I knew most of the outcomes, I still enjoyed the journey to get there. For me, the match of the night was really an extremely close race with Kalani versus Soul, Roxanne versus Lola, and the Fatal 4-Way. Don't get me wrong, there wasn't a bad match on the card. All 6 of these matches, at least the 5 on the main card, were all contenders for match of the night. There wasn't a bad one on there, but it was really these 3 that were next level that took us into that upper echelon of what pro wrestling should look like. If I had to choose one, I think I've got to go with the NXT Championship Fatal 4-Way, because I didn't see that ending coming at all. I saw the outcome, but I didn't see the way to get there, and it was extremely creative. It got the title on Ethan Page, and it protected Trick Williams really, really well. So I expect to see a good feud between the 2 of them as we head on down the road towards the Great American Bash. As far as the overall show goes, I've got to give this one a 9 out of 10. Truly, it was amazing from top to bottom. Now, I would have loved to see some sort of surprises, maybe a return, a debut, something like that. But that's just me always wanting more, no matter how good the show is. What can I say, though? I am a wrestling fan through and through, which means it's never enough. Sorry, it's just never enough. This one hands down beat Money in the Bank, and I'm not one of those who thinks Money in the Bank was terrible. I actually enjoyed Money in the Bank, but this one was just a little bit better. NXT right now is being booked so well, and the superstars on the roster are really, really solid. The future is bright for the WWE if this is who is in it. And what they're doing at the Performance Center and what they're doing with NXT is going to ensure that that future stays bright for a very long time. I love this method of developmental. It's working, and NXT is really, really exciting to watch. Well, hey, that is it for me today. Let me know your thoughts on the show overall down in the comments. I would love to know how you would rate this one and who you would like to see challenge our champions next. Thanks for hanging out with me on the channel today. Before you go, do me a quick favor. Remember, scroll down below this video, hit that like button for me. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and turn on those post notifications so that you can be eligible for that best giveaway in the world, and you know all the information as soon as it's available. And at the same time, you'll never miss an upload from Rumble Rewind. Remember, 200 subscribers, we're doing that giveaway. You've got to be subscribed to be eligible, so make sure you hit that button before you head on out of here. If you want to talk more about NXT, kind of catch up on what's been going on the show weekly leading up to this PLE, check out this video right here and I will tell you all about it. Thanks again for hanging out with me today on Rumble Rewind. We'll see you on the next one.